Good evening, Tampa Bay.
And beyond.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Tampa Bay got a win, right?
Oh, my goodness. We needed that, man. We almost gave it away as usual. But we love the Bay. We love the Bucks. We love everybody. Team Tampa Bay in the house.
That's right. That's
Welcome
right.
Welcome to the show, man.
And I can't say much. You know, my Giants lost again.
But the uniforms are very nice.
They are. They are.
Nice. They upgraded in that space, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, what's going on in the world of sports, Mr. Kevin Carr?
Man, there's so much to be had. I mean, hey, basketball is back.
Yes, it is.
College and pro. It's a nice season unfolding. I'm telling you, the NBA is where it's at. Progressiveness, 100%.
Absolutely.
I don't know where to call it. So, I mean, I think it's the business is very brisk.
Mm-hmm.
I think on all levels, we saw some great championship play out of the women.
Yes.
The WNBA, first time Washington Mystics.
That's
my
right.
good friend, Asia Jones, champion at every level now. She's won everywhere, college, pro, for the Olympics, and now as a coach. And now we're seeing the NBA season. I don't know. Bron and AD need to bring it because everybody's coming for them every week.
Every week.
I'm excited
and look at
the
the
season.
Phoenix Suns just coming out of the blue.
Okay, we didn't know that, but hey, that's the parity. The parity. They've built a good league. They're seeing lots of success. So hey, man, let me bounce the ball over to you. Entertainment. Give us a little bit. What are you thinking? What's happening?
Well, entertainment. A little bit somber news. Today commemorates the 50th. Would have been the 50th birthday of one of my boys, Ed Woods. He's one of the top entertainment law firms. I used to call him the original hip hop attorney because he represented D. Angeletti. He worked with Bad Boy, Stevie J. We all know about Stevie J. He represented him. He represented. He did some work with Usher. He was one of the attorneys that was in that Juicy video sitting on the pool. But a couple years ago, he died from a sudden heart attack. One of the Dog Pound, I can't say his name, but one of the Dog Pound rappers just recently passed as well.
Okay.
And then, a lot of people wouldn't know this guy, but I want to give a big shout out to Sean Brown, who was a barber in Queens and stylist. Yeah. And he just recently passed away.
Oh, wow.
So it's a little somber, but in music right now, people are just kind of doing their thing. They're putting music out there. They're becoming more entrepreneurial, as you can tell.
Yes.
With these new distribution deals, so it's exciting stuff.
Everybody has an opportunity, equal opportunity
Absolutely.
in America. That's
what's really interesting is from a business side, companies like Tencent who are looking to acquire Universal catalog and their distribution. So I can't wait to see if they consummate that deal.
Yeah, if that deal, that'll be huge. Well, also we have Veterans Day yesterday.
That's right, Veterans Day.
And veterans in the house.
Do we have any veterans in the house?
Yes, Mr. Franklin Cruz. We're going to introduce him formally in a little bit. Him and his lovely bride. So stay tuned. What's next, man? What's
next? Well, we need to do the intro, right? Like,
okay.
So you know who we got on the ones and twos. We got my man, Mr. Kevin Carr, Mr. Pro, the CEO, Mr. Career Crossover.
Thank you, and my man, all the way from the cold northeast Brooklyn is in the house.
No doubt.
Mr. Joel Sylvain. We always give each other mad respect there. Thank you so much, colleague.
Absolutely. And what I love about your company, Pro the CEO, is that it's all about, it doesn't matter if they're an athlete, if they're working at a job and they're looking for guidance in career transition. You give them the insight and the guidance, and now you got a book coming out called The Medalist. That's right.
Our second book, but our brand is Transition is the Mission, right? So as we try to help people reinvent what's next in their life, we obviously had a lot of experience when I was at the NBA, but now with Pro to CEO, it's about being the CEO of your life, being more strategic, being more organized, being more thought driven and being able to create second career success like your first one. A lot of people get saying like, man, I wish I had it back. You can have it back. It's
That's
there.
right.
It's in you. You just have to redevelop that. And with that, our theme for today is really having spirit in your mission. Meaning, for us, when we think about spirit and when we train people and we develop people through our professional development programming, a spirit-filled life in terms of what you can do to have more peace, and within that, it gives you more internal power. When you can control what life's challenges come at you and still be able to get up,
that's right,
and move forward, because it will happen.
That's
as
right.
As long as you're living, success can elude you, but success can be right in front of you, and you have to be willing to take risk. You have to be willing to move yourself from that couch. You're on the couch, whatever your couch is, and move it into a place where you bring peace into your life so you can focus and center. So part of our training and development is teaching people how to use spirit as a part of their professional development tool chest.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It has to be. So let's
speaking of spirit, I tell you, these two people right here, they got a lot.
I can't
of
wait,
spirit.
man. We got to get it going now. Enough about us, man. Let's go. Let's go.
So let me share with you a little bit about our guest today, Mr. Franklin Cruz and his wife, Bridgette Cruz.
The Cruzes.
The Cruzes.
Is that
They're
right?
cruising,
Can we say that? Is that the right way to pronounce it?
Okay,
got
yeah.
it.
The Cruzes.
Okay,
The
cool.
Cruzes in the house. So Franklin is currently the founder and the CEO of TrueVestors, a real estate investing master training and development company for real estate investors nationwide. Him and his wife are co-owners of the Bentley Private Fund, a real estate investment firm, also Grow 11 Consulting. They recently accomplished serving as a 4-year senior management post with Clever Investor, a nationally known real estate investment education company, where he was the director of mentorship. So he's all about giving back.
Awesome.
Also, they created and staffed and supervised the firm's fulfillment department from the ground up. He's also managed the team responsible for over 1,500 student programs.
1,500, y'all.
Mr. Cruz is an author of multiple books, including a recently completed children's book on early investing. Can't wait to hear a little bit more about that.
Love it.
But the other thing that's interesting is he's a proud U.S. Army veteran.
Yes.
What does the Army say again? There it is.
Give it to us.
He's a husband, a great father, and a community leader. He's committed to transforming lives of others all over the world.
Awesome.
He's driven by professionalism, integrity, tenacity, and a relentless determination. That's an Army guy for you, for real.
Yeah, I love it.
Frank, G.I. Joe. Franklin has gone from the trenches of serving in the Army to the trenches of the real estate investing game. Him and his wife reside in Florida with their family, and he attributes his success to his personal commitment to God.
All right.
Yeah.
Family, and then business. So his motto is, no excuses, make it happen.
Yep.
So
right.
Let's make it happen for Mr. Franklin Cruz.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. You did your homework.
That's right. That's my man right here.
I appreciate it.
So, Kevin, set it off a little something.
Yeah, so, one of the things we're trying to get at with Powermoves is try to help people make their move and do it with much success. So, with you, I want to talk to you, how did you get going with your career? What made you really push towards the area early in your life? What happened at some point? What direction actually got you going? What was the sort of early indicator for you?
So, amazing question, Kevin. First of all, I want to really acknowledge both of you guys. It takes something to do this kind of show, and really the production that you guys are doing is amazing. So I really want to acknowledge both of you guys. I know it takes something. It really does. Also, I want to acknowledge my beautiful wife, Bridgette, for being here. I know that we've got so many deals working right now in the development, and she pulled her way to be here. And so thank you so much, baby, for doing that.
That's right.
I know it took something.
That's right. Y'all partners in crime.
Yeah. And she's a little powerhouse too. Don't get it twisted.
We're
now.
about to find out.
We gonna get into that.
I was about to
This
say.
is your time now, frankly. You better use it wisely, because when she gets on the mic, it's over.
I was about to say, she'll take this one. She'll take all the mics. So, what I would say, it was a great question. So you said basically what got it started. You know, I was born in New York City, and so and I was a product of a single mother as well, and so. You would always see these buildings, you know, walking as a kid. And for me, I would look up and I'm like, how is that possible?
Right.
Like you just, you look at a building when you're a child and you just, in your head, it's like, how is that, right?
Somebody could own that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think people could own that. Okay. I was just like, that's like a structure that the city owns. Like I didn't think a human could own that, right?
I got you.
Yeah. I mean, really think of it as like a 5-year-old, you know?
Right,
and so, what happened was we moved from New York City, we moved to Florida. And at 10 years old, my mom tragically passed away. And from there, I got adopted. Okay. And so when I got adopted, I was basically kind of being around the wrong crowd, right? But my adopted dad, who I call my dad, Eli Cruz, and he gave me this amazing name because I didn't have Cruz was not my birth name. Okay. It was actually Padilla, and I had nothing wrong with Padilla, but Cruz definitely sounds a lot better. Okay? and in the military, I'm in the front of the line. Okay?
Yes. I'm a C too.
Yeah,
so it's good. It's good to have that early.
And you know, if you're in the military, his name Cruz. Okay, like you're in the front.
You're gonna eat early.
Yeah. Your chocolate milk is fresh. Your chocolate milk is fresh. All right. So then, so what happened was then when I moved, I'll never forget this. My adopted dad said, "Look, his old saying was, you like it, you go buy it."
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't. And I was like, what does that mean? He said, "You like them shoes, you go figure it out. Figure out how to buy it." Yeah. So I'll never forget. I would start cutting grass. Okay. And so and I'll never forget. This was my spill. I would knock on the door. And I would always say the same thing. Say, "Hey, how you doing? My name is Franklin Cruz. I'm 13 years old. I'll cut, edge, and blow your grass for $20. I could start right now." And let me tell you something. I would get the extension cord, because back in the day we had extension cord, and I would throw that thing out, and I would just start plugging it in. I'll just start cutting. Like, what are they gonna do? Stop it? You know? And so I would cut all the time.
Love it.
And then I'll never forget. I saw this for
sale. So did you do that in the hood?
We lived in Valrico. In Valrico.
Yeah, they pay in Valrico.
Yeah, but people don't realize Valrico in the 90s was a little bit different. So Valrico, put it this way, I came from New York City. Right, like Manhattan, FDR area, which is what other people call lower social economic area. Right? And so when we moved to Valrico, it was nothing but a dirt road from Lumsden all the way to Marrennan. Right, and so when I got there,
early.
So they had this new rap group. I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of it. It's called KKK. And so on the fence they had our welcoming letters for us. Yeah, I never forgot that. And so I was like, but it is what it is. Whatever. That's just where we live.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, but it didn't stop me from making the phone call. So I'd never forget. I would see for rent signs and for sale signs as well. So I'm cutting the grass, going back to that. And I'll never forget, I called the guy up, and I said, "Sir, in 12 years," I said the same spill. And he said, his name was Mr. Larkin. And he said, "Son, I like you. You know what? I got 5 properties that you can cut them all."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Really?" And man, I was like lit up, because $20 back in the day, it was a true 20.
That's right.
Yeah. And
went somewhere.
So then he hired me over the summer. He said, "Man, I really like you. You want to work for me in the summer?" I said, "Sure, no problem." Now, this is back in the day in early 90s. So I was making over minimum wage was $4 an hour, right? And he would pick me up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the summers. And I had to wear sweats, because back in the day, like if you're working the orange groves and stuff like that, you had to wear sweats because the stickers.
Right.
And so I would work, but I would always see him. And he was always doing things in his office. And I would ask him, I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Well, I just own a lot of properties." And so what I would do is I would go to his mobile home parks and I would cut all the grasses. But I didn't realize as a child, like, this man's a real estate investor.
Right.
And so what happened is it imprinted something on me. And so then, through life, I went to the military, and I never forgot what that guy was doing. And so long story really short is in 2000, I kind of already saw, like, man, I need to start doing some kind of real estate, because I just joined the military. But I knew the only way that somebody who has no degree can actually become a multimillionaire is, number one, you have to learn how to influence people. Dale Carnegie wrote a great book on that.
That's right.
Even Warren Buffett says that. And so you've got to learn how to influence. So you got to learn how to sell.
Yep.
Period. So you got to learn how to speak properly. And my mom made me not have a New York accent. Like that was one thing before she passed.
I can't hear it.
But
neither can I.
Yeah, but
and
that was something that she was like, people see you before they hear you, but when they hear you, you need to make sure that you're remembered. Period. And I was like, okay, so I know we gotta continue.
That's right. So we getting ready to go on break, and we live, baby. We live.
On,
so once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. See you after the break. It's In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. Call in 813-444-9588 for more tips.
All right, we'll be right back, y'all.
In Touch Radio.
Hey, this is Tampa Bay Tammy. Don't forget to pick up your copy of In Touch News.
On Friday, December 27th at the Yingling Center, it's the concert of the year. It's R&B superstar.
Hey, this is Anthony Hamilton.
Woke up this morning, found a letter that she wrote.
Hi, this is Joe. The Diva K. Michelle. Hip-hop legend Ja Rule.
Come on and get a piece of this late night lover, you know, the one that say kids like no other.
Avant.
I can read your mind, babe.
The Hamilton, Chris Knight, Tiana Bonet, and it's all hosted by E-Train. It's the New Year's Eve weekend extravaganza. Anthony Hamilton, K. Michelle, Avant, Joe, and Ja Rule. Get your tickets today. Get them from Ticketmaster.com or charge 800-745-3000.
Bright light, city life, I gotta make it. This is where it goes down.
Catch my show that will be all up in your business. Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Crusoe. Every Wednesday at 12:31 p.m. My 3 co-hosts and business experts provide insight for business entities and entrepreneurs. First Wednesdays is Derek Blue, CEO of FAP, building the business blueprint. Second Wednesdays, check out with Dr. Shanae Davis of Your Best You Clinic, delivering our greatest wealth in your health. Third Wednesday, branding your business with Jeanette Diva J. Horge Smith, coordinating and marketing president. Fourth Wednesdays, featuring fashion trends styled by Linda Archie of El Diva Couture Boutique. So join us every Wednesday from 12:31 p.m. to 1:31 p.m. at www.intouchnews.com. Call in at 813-444-9588.
All right. So we back with True Investors with Franklin and Bridgette Cruz.
Say it again.
We're gonna work it.
Bridgette.
There you go.
We got it.
All right. So, do you have a follow-up question with that?
Yeah. No, go. Keep going.
So, I mean, that's interesting because you had to kind of circumnavigate all these different obstacles. How did those skills that you learned help you in the military? When you got into getting into investing, did the military help you, become successful there?
Here's my belief. First of all, every single teenager who's getting out of high school, you should do one or two things. If you got a full ride scholarship, God bless you. You are an amazing person.
Right.
If you don't have a full ride and you got to dig into a loan, number one, don't do that.
Right.
Number two, don't do that. And number three, don't do that. Yeah, because it's a debt that you will never get out of.
Right.
Because you don't have the financial education to actually start having a debt at that age, because there's 0 courses on finances in school, and that is the most important thing that you need to understand and learn for the rest of your life.
Okay.
And they don't teach it.
So great. So I'm going to challenge you then. So tell me a little. So what would you do differently?
Military, 1,000,000%, but I would be quicker at it. When it comes down to it, you can't name one job, in America, because that's what we're talking about right now, or actually in the entire country, that right out of high school, you get 30 days paid vacation. You get free medical, free dental, eye care. You get to travel the world, and you got a full scholarship.
Okay.
It's all said and done.
But I want to pause on that though. But how's that giving you financial education? Because you said,
well, wait up. I'll answer your question. So the way that it gives you financial education is, first of all, you don't have the pressure of making decisions of just moving forward to saying, hey guys, I got a scholarship, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people have more of a distraction issue. See, people have a hard time focusing. So if you now have this college loan, right, you still have a hard time focusing because we have this thing called social media. We won't go there, right?
All right. No, we going there.
Yeah. But then what happens is, between college and now you have these bills because you don't have the education, there's a lot of things. Now you have pressure, right? So when you have pressure, you start making decisions that they're not long-term decisions, because you're making a decision for your 21-year-old self. See, when you learn how to make a decision for your 50-year-old self when you're 20, your decisions are different. I learned that at a different age early on, just because I had the experience of Mr. Larkin at a young age, and then I decided to tip my toe into real estate. Now, don't get it twisted. My first deal, I lost my entire life savings, which was $17,500 at the time.
Right.
And at 21. Right. Okay. So I literally lost everything on my first deal.
Right.
But I knew there was only two things that I could actually do to get that money back, and only one of them were legal.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just being straight up.
Of
so
course.
it's just like, and I was still in the military. So what I did is I decided, look, I need to learn this business. But I had the background of still being in the military as a zero pressure game. If I fail again, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to re-enlist.
Okay.
And then if I fail again, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to re-enlist again, because I'm not going to quit. And I did do that too. I re-enlist twice.
So what's interesting, so what made you commit then? Because you know what? A lot of times when people fail and they fall, they don't want to get back up, right?
Yeah.
So what was different with you?
So the way I looked at it was, I only have really one choice. I have to figure this out. Because
all right, pause. Repeat that again.
Yeah, so everybody has choices. I just chose that there was no other choice. So it was, I'm in the military, so I've got the safety net of worst case scenario, I can re-enlist. That's kind of how I looked at it. And then absolutely worst case scenario, if I fail everything, I know I could sleep at my dad's house.
Right.
Like I was always in my head. I'm like, I know that sofa is actually not that bad. It's not like grandma's with plastic. It's a legit sofa, right? So that's how I looked at it. And so I just said, I only have one. Even now, look, I'm doing a development. Man, I've never done development before.
Okay.
This is my first one, and we're doing 26 houses. I mean, we're doing modern luxury homes. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing a completely different thing, but I'm doing it because I know, first of all, I know I got a deal because I know deals. So I know I got a deal on the land. I didn't know everything else, but when you get in business, and if you really want to progress, you've got to kill that ego. See, the faster you kill your ego, the faster that you're going to progress.
Right.
And I was an intern with this guy named Howard Shore. He wrote a book called Leaky Bucket. He was an executive business coach for only people doing $100 million or above. And what I learned from him is, he told me this. He said, I can tell you how fast the company's going to go by how fast the CEO will kill his ego. I never forget that. And then I asked him, I said, what do you mean by that? I've never really heard that. He said, if you have pride, there's a reason why it says, if you have pride, what's going to happen in the Bible? It says pride comes before the fall.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens is,
from power.
Yeah. So what happens is that's straight up ego. When you have that, dude, nobody could talk to you because you know it all.
Right.
Nobody could talk to you because, like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Really? Then you're gonna keep on knowing what you're doing, working at Papa John's. You know what I'm saying? So just have fun doing that, because when you could actually kill your ego, dude, the world opens up to you. Anything that you want, you can have it.
That's huge. That's huge. Because the humility is what you're talking to. That's got to be part of when you're learning, right?
Oh, you have to.
You have to be able to, like, this new development. There's going to be so many things that you have.
The first thing I did is I called her uncle, Uncle Donnie, who used to be the biggest builder in Polk County. And I called Uncle Donnie and said, look, Uncle Donnie, I'm not sure what you're doing right now, but I know you love some sweet tea. So all I want to do is you tell me what the size is, and it will be there. Okay. And what kind of pizza you like? You like that New York style pizza? Okay, look.
Thin crust.
You like what do you like? Yeah, thin crust. What do you like? And he's like, no, son. I'll get some sweet tea. You give me some chicken dumplings, and then I'll tell you whatever you want. I said, you know what? I'll do you better. Okay, I'll bring the sweet tea, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring a side of some cornbread. And then when you think you're getting tired, I'm just going to slide that cornbread right up. And so what happened was then I learned the game from him in a very short period of time because I just looked at him in his face and I said, look, man, I don't know what I'm doing. So can you do, like, this is what I do know. What's my blind spot? What am I missing?
That's key.
What am I not seeing? Yeah. And then a great question I always ask, and again, I learned these from really great people I've been around. I was a general's aide for a short period of time as well. And I remember even my general would say, he would look at another general, he said, what's the question I should be asking, but I'm not?
Not, right. Yes.
And even taking this to my marriage, look, I don't know how to be a good husband. I'm not sure if y'all know this, but I've never done this before, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. So, and even if you did, you haven't done it with that woman, hopefully. You know, it's like, so for me, it's like I just do the best that I can, and I know that my intentions are pure. It may not be perfect.
Right.
But I know my intentions is pure, and I know my integrity level is high. And so it's just killing that every day, man.
So what's interesting is, so how does spirituality come into play at that?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, dude, it's everything. Okay. Because let me tell you something. There's plenty of times that you're just like, you question yourself if you fail. Mm-hmm. You question yourself like, man, why didn't that deal go the way I wanted? Right? But I can tell you in chronological order certain things that happened in my life, just even recently, that you wouldn't believe. But the only way that you would believe is that you have to believe in some kind of God, period. Now, I don't care what you believe in, because I've actually went to Muslim countries and stuff like that. So what I would say, just all around, whatever you believe in, at the end of the day, just believe like it's real.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you want to get super technical, like, we're spinning in the middle of nothing, on top of nothing, hovering on something, and it happens to be a rock that's going a billion miles per hour, perfectly mathematically equated that if we're off by 1 millimeter, we're all dead from the sun.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you know this, but I'm pretty sure that there's a God that is perfectly aligned everything. But all we have to actually do, and if you don't believe me, you can look this up. Like, this is legit mathematics that I'm talking about.
That's right.
If it's off 1 millisecond, we're gone.
We're gone. That's
right. So the way I look at it is, if I know that, all I got to do is tap into it. Right. And in the Word of God, it says, if you don't ask, you'll never receive. But there's also
it's a law.
But here's the best scripture to me of the entire Bible. Faith without works is dead. I love talking to people.
So what does that mean to you? And then, Bridgette, I'd love to hear your
from a woman's perspective, too. Yeah. Bridgette knows Spanish. You got the Spanish crowd for you.
So we can say it in Spanish, too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We trying to go there point there.
So here's what I would say what it means to me. Faith without works is dead. You could pray all you want. Which is nothing wrong with prayer. As a matter of fact, I believe that people should not only pray, but I believe they also need to shut their mouth, and they also need to meditate on God as well. There's a difference between praying and meditating, completely different. And then when you work, means when God tells you something, not you. I'm not asking you to keep talking, because I think we talk too much to God. I think we need to shut our mouth. When you shut your mouth and you know, because consistently you've been doing that through a long period of time, and God keeps on telling you, call that person. Like right after that meditation or that prayer, you wrote down a name, just like my man over here was like, man, I was just thinking about, which is my stepmom, Barb. And what did I do? Oh, here's the phone. Here she is right here. You know, so it's already, you've put that in the space. And so when you put that in the space, now you got to allow God to work, man.
That's right.
So now what you do is you put it in, but you keep saying it. You keep putting the actions. You keep putting in the work. And if you keep putting the work in, I truly believe through time, through time, if you keep on putting the work, you can literally create anything you want.
That's right.
Period. And I am a product of that. The catch is you got to stay focused.
All right, so Bridgette, when you hear that scripture, what are you going to say to that?
So first of all, there's something really sexy about that right there. That's what keeps it hot, right there.
I was about to say, that's what I'm talking about.
Y'all
Self-driving.
Whatever you want, you married.
Exactly. Self-driving. They both got self-driving cars, so it's all good.
When a man has something to say and he says it powerfully, there's just something really awesome about that. And so I just get really excited and lit up just listening to him and hearing the impact that he's making and just the mentor that he is all over the place all the time. Like this is him all the time.
Right.
Unless he's sleeping. So what do I think about that? Wow.
For you
said
personally,
so much.
for you personally, that scripture, faith only
Faith without works
Faith
is dead.
Faith
without works is dead. So you got to break it down. Like faith is one thing. A lot of people have a lot of trouble with the word faith. And so faith. So you got to start there. So faith is not seeing and believing in something that you don't quite see. You don't have it figured out.
Yep.
So if you got to have faith first before you actually put works in. So when I hear works, is an action. So basically, when I hear that scripture, is like. You don't need to have it figured out. You don't need to know how it looks. You just need to move.
Yes.
And sometimes we stay stagnant. I know this is for me in my life. Anytime that I've been stuck, it's because I'm not taking an action. Just take a move, make a phone call, look something up, research something, wing it.
Right.
And if you have faith and you believe, like we are believers, we do believe that God has got our back. He's got it all aligned. And sometimes he does it on purpose. He doesn't give you the whole entire mission because he wants you to figure it out because it's part of the journey.
Right.
You know, sometimes the failures in all of that, in that journey is part of the mission.
Oh, it's the journey. It's part of the journey. It's the thing that you learn, really, if you're listening and you're working hard at it, you learn the most in between, right?
Yes.
Before the beginning.
Look how powerful testimony is. You don't really have a testimony unless you've been through some things.
Right?
Like I actually met one person my entire life that actually had nothing negative to say ever about their life. One person my entire life. I'm going to be 40. And I won't tell you when. So super excited. One person ever, and it was the most boring conversation I've ever had. I was like, really? Like you never had a trial? Tribulation, not breakup, nothing. Like you ain't got nothing to say.
So that's definitely not a Lifetime movie, right?
No. Like drama is good, people.
That's
drama is good. Drama breaks chains. Drama causes transformation. You know, like so get out there and take an action.
So being that you talk about drama brings transformation.
Let's do this.
Right? And faith, because a lot of times married couples, one person is the go-getter, and then the other person is like. I don't know. Yeah, this person crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had that moment.
Have you had?
I knew.
So, have you guys had that moment, and how has that worked in your marriage, in your business?
Okay, so
two-part question.
Yeah, that's a two-part question. So, Franklin and I are very different in so many ways, and very alike in so many ways. I think emotionally we're a lot alike, in the sense that we both came from really tough beginnings. Our childhoods were a little rough, with what he went through, and I came a single mom, and then stepdad came into the picture. That wasn't easy. There's just a lot of hardships, and mom had 3 jobs, and it was something. It was something, and graduated from a high school where there's 3 Spanish people. I'm from Polk County, people.
Okay.
I am a product of Polk County, Lakeland, Florida.
Wow.
All right, and it's kind of cool.
God bless you.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, hey.
It's on the come up, though.
Let me tell you, though.
Exit 32. Exit
32. It was really 28. We worked our way up to 32. 28 was yeah. Anyways, people from Polk County, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about.
You know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But thank God for J-Lo, because my senior year, J-Lo came out and she put me on the map. I was like, thank you, Jesus. They know who we are. They know who we are.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I feel like we're very much alike emotionally, but and how we operate is very different. So he's visionary all the way. I mean, I remember the first
stats and data and structure. That's all.
He's all structured. Thank you, United States Army, for that. He's very disciplined. Where I'm just squirrel. hey, adventure. I'm the artist in the family. Let's create. And so we really balance each other out there. I'm very detail oriented. I'm the fact finder. We're gonna do this, and this is how big it looks, and this is the 5-year plan. And I'm like, whoa. Do you see how it's gonna get there? Look at this step by step by step. This is a lot of work. And it just really complements each other. But it's not been easy. 14 years. I mean, shoot, we had a little disagreement on the way here. Like, we better get this straight. People need to hear, it is constantly recreating each other and remembering what it is you value and love about each other every single day.
Awesome. That's faith with works right there, baby. So once again, this is Power Moves, where celebrities, athletes, key influential executives share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect and use faith and make it work.
Yes.
All right. See you after the break. In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star. Call in 813-444-9588.
All right. We'll be right back.
I'm Rob here with Solar Energy Loan Fund, and we can help you finance your energy needs. If you need a new air conditioner, roof, solar panels, windows, doors, weatherization, having plumbing issues, the Solar Energy Loan Fund can help you with that. Even if your credit isn't the best, we will be able to help you replace that old air conditioner or get that roof replaced. Again, my name is Rob Perry. I'm with Solar Energy Loan Fund. I can be reached at 727-315-3223. Again, that's 727-315-3223. Looking to hear from you.
This brutal weather that we experience every year in Florida leaves hundreds of residents needing repairs to their property. If your home has been damaged or needs remodeling, leave it to the professionals. Call Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing at 813-238-6197. That's 813-238-6197. Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing have been serving the community for 43 years. Reeves Building, Plumbing, and Roofing is a proud sponsor of Jazz at Miss Connie's house.
Hi, this is Trina Johnson with Caldwell Banker Real Estate, the real estate agent you've been looking for. If you want top dollar for your home or you're looking to make a purchase, call me at 813-244-6953. Again, 813-244-6953, and let me list your home.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
All right, guys, we are back. We're back with the Cruises.
Yes.
Man, if you missed that last segment, ooh, that was fire right there.
Yeah, it was transparency at the highest level. Mm-hmm. Couples in business.
That's right. And this show is sponsored by Oxygen. Jawan Howard with the
coach
Jawan Howard in Michigan with his Oxygen line of CBD, everything from massage oil aromatherapy, gummy bears that don't have THC. So I'm sorry, Dion Waiters. This is what you really need.
Oh my God.
Pain relief.
My man Dion alone. Go ahead.
There we go. Pain relief right here.
All right.
And so Kevin, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm intrigued to know that out here there's this brand TED Talk, and we hear about it. Mm-hmm. What did you do to attract that level of respect by getting on that platform? A lot of people would love to have that opportunity, and you had it. You had it. And you've been able to obviously use it in a way that possibly has helped a lot of people, but also helped your business. But so how did you get that, and what do you think it can do for people?
Oh, man.
And go from there.
So first of all, great question, because it was probably the hardest preparation of 12 minutes I've ever had in my life. Really? Yeah, because just to get, first of all, you have to get accepted. right? So that anybody can apply for a TED Talk. So it's anybody. So I remember I met somebody that did a TED Talk, and I asked him. I said, "Man, dude, it's a lifelong dream for me to do a TED Talk. Like just like, how did you do it?"
Yes.
And he told me, and I'm going to tell you guys exactly the same thing he told me, so you guys can break it down.
I'm taking some notes.
Yeah. So this is what he said. He said, "Dude, go to Google Alert and set up alert, and set up for TEDx, TEDx accepting applications." And he said, and just set that as a trigger. And when he told me that, I was like, "That's it?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "When the trigger comes up, see if one comes up in your area and you apply." Now, don't get it twisted. It's not like you're just going to get it if you apply. It's a long process just to apply, right? And so they'll cut out a lot of people just from the application process, right? So literally that same day, I set it up. No exaggeration. The next day, it popped up for Polk County, Lakeland.
Oh, my
It was the first one ever in Lakeland.
Oh, wow.
And the lady that was running graduated from Harvard, right? And so she was the one that was going to look at the application. So obviously in my head, I'm like, I'm not going to write this application. I'm going to pay for somebody to write this application. So I did. And I found somebody. I was like, "Look, I've never done this before. You know, how much are you going to charge?" And I literally paid for the application.
Sure.
And so I didn't even know if it could be, and I didn't know if I can get in. I just wanted my foot in the door, and I was like, all right, my writing capability is horrible. My wife is really busy, but she's never wrote a TED Talk application before.
You killed your ego on that.
I killed it. Yeah, dude, I killed the ego, and I was just like,
he paid for the ego.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah, but for me, it was
work.
like, at the end of the day, it's like, do you take, people have spent $1,000 on the stupidest things in the world.
Sure.
Right.
I was just like,
That's
look,
what
I
I'm
might as well
talking
take this $1,000 and see if this thing works.
Invest in yourself.
Yeah, and I even told him, I said, "Look, if it don't work, can I get 2 more apps for the $1,000?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." So what happened is, I got my foot in the door. They looked at the application. They were intrigued. Then the lady was like, "Can we sit down and talk, because I like what you had to say?" So I was like, "Okay, well, this is a good thing, because now she's going to see me face to face. At least that's a good thing, right?"
You ready to close? You about to do the Dale Carnegie on them.
Element now.
But the only catch was I didn't write the app. So now in my head, I'm like, man, I didn't write it. So I go to the lady, and then she happens to be adopted as well. And so right there, and I was like, we had a great rapport. The only catch is, to do a TED Talk, you literally have to memorize almost word for word the entire time that you have. Like, it has to be literally, it is written, memorized, approved by TED, and then you're allowed to say it.
Right.
So the process was so hard. Like, it took me months to get this. Dude, for something that's free, like, at the end of the day, I ain't getting paid for this. This ain't like, I'm not even a gift card.
They're not handing you a check when it's done.
Yeah. Like, this ain't for nothing except to me was, I wanted that platform. I wanted one day for my kids to look back and say, that was my dad. I wanted somebody to come back and say, wow, he did that.
Right.
And so, and the funny part is, they were setting up for the TED Talk of Lakeland, and they were having a hard time even with the logo. And I said, you know what? I know a guy. And I actually had my input on creating the logo for TED Talk of Lakeland, which was actually really cool as well. But again, that was when you just say, hey, how can I help you guys?
Sure.
Because they're people just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Even though they have the prestige of a TED Talk behind them, it was like, how can I get in there? Yeah. And so, look, it took forever. I finally got on there. I had to change certain things that I wanted to say and what I wanted to show, because I had to also make sure it ran their guideline.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And so when that transpired, dude, it was a game changer, because what happens is, you learn so much about your topic.
Yeah.
It's in-depth research. So the amount that I understood, just like from, a lot of people don't understand, like, one of my topics was not only Martin Luther King, but it was people that, at the end of the day, when you look at somebody as a child, and that's what it was all about. It was about children that people just, right off the bat, they'll start judging. Man, you're like Albert Einstein. A lot of people don't know this. He couldn't talk all the way until he was 8 years old, right? They called him the dumb one in his language. They would literally call him the dumb one, because he couldn't speak. And now they call him the father of physics.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like things like that. They look at Bill Gates and he was a nerd, right? They would make fun of him, bully him. And then now you look at him and he's the father of the personal computer.
No doubt.
So you look at individuals, but I didn't know that until I started saying, you know what? I don't know if this TED Talk thing's going to work, but I'm going to get my best foot forward. And if it fails, it's all good. Now I know how Google Alert works.
Yes.
And I'm going to do it again.
So if we want to find you, what's your title of your TED Talk so we can go on YouTube? Can we find you on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay,
So if you
ahead.
type in Franklin Cruz and you just type in TED, you're literally going to find the first thing that pops up. And I'm on the actual TED website as well.
Love it, man.
Yeah. And it's called Labels.
I love it.
Yep.
Love it.
So, what's interesting is because I dealing with several different folks that are real estate investors, what I see is that they have a unique type of mind in terms of how to look at constructing a deal, a business deal.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what do you look for in a business deal, and what's your formula?
So business deal or real estate deal? Two different things. Which one you want to talk about?
Let's go real estate because that's your bread and butter.
Yeah. So I would say real estate is real simple. Really simple. Because it only took me 19 years to get it simple.
right.
So it didn't take me that long. So the way I look at it is when it comes down to real estate, and it all matters who I'm speaking to right now. Am I speaking to the newbie? Am I speaking to somebody who's advanced? So let's say I'm talking to somebody who's brand spanking new.
That's right.
So if I'm talking to somebody who's brand spanking new, consider you need to set yourself up not for where you are right now, but you're going to set yourself up for where you want to be in 20 years. Because at the end of the day, real estate's a long-term game. Period. If you are setting yourself up that you even want to be an entrepreneur, you can't look at yourself right now. You got to look at yourself of where you want to be. But I'm not talking about 3 years from now either.
Right.
I'm talking about where do you want to be when you're 50. Right? And then you reverse engineer that. And so the easy questions when I'm looking at a deal, especially a real estate deal, there's only 7 data points for every real estate deal. Period. And so when you look at these 7 data points, it's, first of all, am I looking at a piece of property that is, what is that market actually going for? So real estate is micro-marketed. It's not, everybody always asks me, hey, how's the real estate market doing? And that's actually one of the dumbest questions you could ask. Because the only reason why is because real estate's micro-marketed. Meaning you could only look at another piece of real estate that in a 2-mile radius that is similar in square footage, similar in style. Meaning I can't compare a 2-story house compared to a 1-story. I can't compare a brick to a frame.
Right.
And then it's got to be similar in square footage. Right. And then it's also got to be similar in year built. And then it's also got to be similar when it comes down to upgrades or downgrades. Right. If another property has granite countertops, you can't compare that to somebody with nothing.
Right.
And then the last data point is you got to take all those data points and then you have to create an equation that at the end of the day said, oh, and it has to have sold within the last 6 months. So when you take all those data points and you factor that into a mathematical equation, which I know now very well, now I have a number. And now as long as I get that property below that number, I got a deal. So it takes something to understand those data points one by one.
Right.
Now you could wing it, which a lot of people do. Dude, I'm going to go to Zillow, and Zillow's going to say it. I'm not sure if people know this, but Zillow's a marketing company. It's not a real estate company.
Right.
So what they do, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just you got to understand what you're looking at. And when you look at also, how did you get the deal? Did you get the deal from somebody who's my age who just bought it 2 years ago? Well, that may not be a deal. But did you get it from somebody who looks like our grandfather that's been in that property 45 years? That you're trying to help out of a situation. See, the number one thing I've looked at is, first of all, I don't negotiate any of my real estate deals. None of them. Zero. I never negotiate real estate.
Okay.
All I do is the first question out of my mouth for every seller, I always ask them the same question. What's our goal? What's your goal in this situation? What are we shooting for? How can I help? And what I do is I say, okay, what's our goal? What's the facts of the situation? What are we dealing with? And I always give them 3 options on how I could help them get their goal. And then I turn the paper around and I just say, which one are you leaning towards?
There you go.
And I just help. Because at the end of the day, when I started doing that philosophy, I've actually made more money than I've ever made in my entire life by giving up trying to negotiate. Because if the deal is too tight, we have a real estate brokerage. I throw it Bridgette's way. Period. I say, hey, babe, you got this. And her team takes it from there. So I never get a deal. I take zero risk when it comes down to it. Period. I've done this too long to take any risk anymore. There's no need for it.
Right.
My only thing that I love doing is we happen to live in a world that there's currency. So we have to make income. I personally, if I didn't live in this world of currency, I would just help people all day.
Sure.
I would literally just like, dude, how can I help you out? How can I do this? And I would just barter all day at the end of the day, because that's what I love doing. I just figured out a way that I could make a stupid amount of money helping people. And they know how much money I'm making because I tell them.
Right.
This is how much I'm going to make. But what I've learned is, as long as you help somebody get what they want, they don't care what you make.
Right. It's about the win-win, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
And I want to get to this part because I think this is a question that you guys are parents and you and as well as I is like, and I really want us to kind of think about 30 years from now as you talk about this as we're here.
Yeah.
Your philosophy of love, because it has really a spiritual basis to it. I mean, it's bigger than us. It's always we're only here for a minute, and then what we do for others in terms of stewardship with what we got, and what we've been blessed with, and then what we do to help other people is really the mission here.
I agree.
So with that, we talk about trying to leave something for our kids, but what can we teach our kids? Why is it beneficial for our kids to earn income in business so they know what it's like
at an early age?
At an early age, so they can
really
build on that. Because you seem to have a good sense of that, and I'm wondering if we could help our audience. We're talking about single mothers, parents, etc. Here, what could we say to that?
I'll say it quick, and then I'm going to throw it to somebody who used to be a single mother.
Okay. Okay.
And so what I would say is my philosophy is allow your kids to fail as quickly as possible. My dad's philosophy when he told me, I'll never forget it, he said, you like it, you go buy it. Period. Use that philosophy, because at the end of the day, the world is harsh and it's really mean. It's a really mean world. And if you want to get technical, nobody cares about you. Like, I'm just going to be straight up, right? Your parents do to a point, right? Like, don't test it too much.
That's right.
You don't need to be 35 still at the house, okay? You need to get off that. So what I've discovered is, even with my 11-year-old and even my 17-year-old, I started using that philosophy young for them. And I would tell them, like, I never forget, at the time he was 8 years old, Andrew. And he was like, Dad, I really want these shoes. I really want these shoes. And I said, man, for real? I said, what's wrong with your feet? They don't, the shoes don't fit. Like, what happened to them?
Why you want these?
Yeah. And then I asked him, I said, all right, this is what I want you to do. You can buy those shoes with your money. He said, but Dad, I'm 8 years old.
Figure it out.
I said, what's wrong with that? I said, that's great. I said, you got YouTube? He said, yeah. I said, so YouTube, how an 8-year-old makes money? He did. And the first thing that came up is, you can dog walk. So he asked me, he said, Dad, I think I could dog walk. I said, that's perfect. So this is what we're going to do. I'm an expert at sales. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you a script. And all you're going to do is you're going to say the script and you're going to smile. He said, okay, I could do it. And he has a great memory. Like, this kid actually can memorize things. So I tell him, I said, this is all you're going to do. You're going to knock on the door, say, hey, knock on the door. Hey, my name is Andrew. I'm 8 years old, and I can walk your dog right now, and I'll only charge you $5. Can I start right now? Where's your dog at? He got 5 houses.
5 dog walks.
He got 5 dog walks, and one of them he still does now, right? And he's 11, right?
Wow.
So what happened is, now he understood how to create, because at the end of the day, as an adult, It doesn't matter who you are. As an adult, you have to learn how to create for your own. Once you figure that out, you'll never starve ever in your entire life, because then you've understood how to create.
That's right.
You're not going to understand like how to beg. And what I mean by begging is, look, there ain't nothing wrong with getting a normal job. I ain't saying that, because I've had it, and you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Period. You got to humble yourself. You got to, dude, I was a general's aide, okay? I made coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning. That was a part of my criteria, right? 4 calendars every morning that man had to have, and it was the same doggone calendar, okay? All of them were the same. One in the mini pocket, one in the journal. The other one was right in front of his face, and the other one was in the car, okay? Wow. So at the end of the day, that's something like you just got to do it. But once you figure out that thing called balance. And balance is learning how to create. Game changer. I want to throw it back to this woman, though.
That's right.
Who used to be a single mother. You open your mouth, and I need to hear from you, because she's got something that is amazing.
Well, when Franklin and I met, our now 17-year-old, it was 3.
Oh, wow.
I was a single mom. I had a 3-year-old. I was managing apartment communities, driving from Lakeland to Tampa to church because I was a singer, leading worship at a church. So I would work all day, 3 days a week, drive to Tampa, grab him from daycare, grab some McDonald's on the way on I-4, and go to church. And it was just boom, 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 boom. My whole life was full. And but I love our story about our sons now, because our sons have seen us be entrepreneurs. And now my 17-year-old has had a job. First of all, they are little entrepreneurs. The 17-year-old, we made him go get a job. Last 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Right when he was 15, 16, whatever age they allowed him. Yeah. And so he said, well, I said, apply everywhere. Everywhere. You have to have a job this summer. No ifs or buts about it. Right. But Mom, I don't need a job. No, you're having a job. I want you to have the experience of having a boss and having colleagues, colleagues.
Working for somebody.
Right. And so he got a job at the movie theater. Then he's also picked up the camera, and this kid's been passionate about the camera since he was young. He started taking pictures of our homes, and then Franklin got a drone, and he learned the drone, and now he's doing photography, and he fell in love with film. So now he's editing video. Wow. So he's got clients. Nice. He started a company called Drone X Marketing. We started paying him a little something.
You still live in the house, right?
Like, Mom, how come you pay us $50, but this realtor said I should be getting $200? No, you work for Mom. Is that roof over your head?
That's right.
I was about to say, you're going to start paying rent?
That's right. Pay some utilities.
I was about to say, you take up 10% of the house, 10% of my mortgage, you need to
have $200.
So when he compared his paycheck doing drone photography to his little minimum wage job at the movie theater, he got disgruntled real fast. He said, Mom, I want to quit. You're not quitting. You got to give your notice. You got to fill your spot. So we started teaching him principles of how to do things right and what it was like in the real world. And let me tell you, it was an eye-opening experience, because he was able to go, I don't want that. And to this day, he says, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. So it's like you have to treasure the hardship.
Right.
I value what I have now because I remember struggling. You know, but I remember leaving church one day with literally $5 in my bank account, and I had to think, can I make it to church from Lakeland? I don't get my paycheck direct deposit till tomorrow. I got to get my son lunch. How am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to put $2 of gas, $2.50 of gas. I'm going to go to Wendy's and pick from the dollar menu. We could share a little 10-piece nugget. Right. You know, and that's how we made it.
That's how.
And and this is a spiritual moment, because it was like my faith, you know, that's why I have such a faith. And I think this is what keeps us grounded. Is as I was going to church, I was like, Lord, I don't know how I'm going to make it, but I'm going to be faithful, because I'm going to be faithful to you, and I'm going to move forward. And I got to church, and when we were leaving church, here I am struggling, like, I hope that $2.50 of gas makes it to home. And then we're just going to be homebound. We can't go anywhere.
Can't go anywhere.
Right? And as I'm leaving church, a guy comes running out, and he's kind of messing around with my son. He's like, hey, Alex, dance for me. If you dance for me, I give you $20. Alex, dance. You need to dance.
Go, baby, go.
Go,
dance.
Baby. I know he was messing around, but I was for real. Mama needs them $20.
That's that moment.
And, you know, my little introvert son didn't dance, and I walked away going, man, that man turned back around and goes, I don't know what it is, but God told me to give you $20. And I wept.
Wow.
I was like, you don't. Now, to this day, Mario, if you're listening, to this day, I'll never forget that moment because I took that $20. I just wept. I said, "You don't know how bad I need this $20." And I just looked up and I said, "I know you got me."
That's
you know,
right.
and then I meet this entrepreneur, man, like literally 6 months later, and it just changes my whole entire world.
Man.
And it's funny because with Mario, I'll never forget this. So then years passed.
Yeah.
And I know Mario.
Yeah, we're friends.
And so what happened was then I remember what he did for Bridgette. I remember that story. And then I gave him $400.
Yeah, he was dealing with something.
Because I asked him, I said, "You remember that moment?"
Right.
And so I handed it to him. He started crying.
That's right.
Wow.
And I said, "Look, man, we're all here to be a blessing."
Sure.
Yeah.
I said, "But I wanted to thank you because if it wasn't for you, you would never give my wife hope at that time, and she needed it. So thanks for being obedient."
Strengthening each other.
You know, because that's what it's all about.
Being obedient.
100%. 100%. Because it's not mine anyway.
That's
I just
right.
happen to get lucky.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's just
actually, it's not luck. It's tapping. You mentioned it earlier.
That's right.
It's tapping into it and being able to let it flow.
Well,
so DJ CEO, you had a question, man?
What's
you
going
get all
on?
animated.
On the ones and twos, we opening up.
I just wanted if Bridgette would just sing a little a bar or two. You sing in the choir. I know you're spiritual. If you don't want to, it's okay. But
it's okay.
Yeah, she was singing. She was singing a little something earlier.
You want me to sing a little something?
What you got?
Oh, let's see. What's the one I sing in the shower all the time? My favorite, just a little hymn. I love your presence. I love your presence. I love you, Jesus. I love your presence.
All right. You put the applause in there.
You're so funny. I love how y'all put me on the spot like that.
That's right. Hey, you claimed it.
Hey, you made a power move. This is a show for sure.
Faith without works.
I love you guys have so affirmed what we try to do in business is introduce people how to be the quarterback of their lives by just putting spiritual presence in their job, spiritual presence, but really having a spirit-filled life and acknowledging the higher power
and tapping it and being able to tap into it, and you're employing the strategies. And
it's huge.
I gotta say, man, we never have enough time when we have our guests. But we gonna definitely have to do a part 2 or something. But once again, this was another great Power Move show with the Cruz family. We might have to have the kids come next time.
Oh, Lord. They'll take over.
So tell us real quick how we can follow you. If there's anything you guys
share your website, talk a little bit about the project.
The easiest thing would be, just Google Franklin Cruz. I'm the only one out there. You FranklinCruz.com if you really want to.
Okay.
And when it comes down, Facebook, anything. We're on all the handles are the same. And what I would say is, when it comes down to grab a piece of the knowledge that you heard tonight and actually put it into action, that's actually going to be way more powerful for me, because I would like to see that. I want to see people say, hey, man, I did what you said, and look at me now. Or, man, I went through the struggle, and now look at me now. Because at the end of the day, what matters is it's what you go through.
That's right.
That matters.
That's right.
I love
and
it.
once again, this is Power Move with celebrities, athletes, key influential executives, and big-time real estate moguls.
And their beautiful wife,
Bridgette.
Go ahead.
Share how they make money, how they attract power, and how they earn respect. See you next week.
Next week, y'all.
Baby.